Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 54 of MAME Politics. I hope everybody is doing well tonight. It's Saturday. It's about 5:15 where I am on the West Coast. I'm just going to ambiently sit here until everybody comes in. Hey, Tom. You're the first one in the chat. Welcome. How have you been, Tom? I hope you've been well. I apologize for not keeping up on our DMs, Tom. I promise I will re-engage soon. Hey, Andy. Hey, Terror Toddler. How are you? Good to see you, man. Hope you've been well. Persona Management. Hey, I'm glad you're excited. I'm feeling a little low-key, but I'm going to try to get you guys excited for Gunforce by a company that I've bragged about or just heaped praises on before. IREM. They also made In the Hunt, that underwater shooter that I showed you guys a few episodes ago. They also made R-Type. And if anybody else knows any other games that IREM has made that are worth checking out, please send them my way. Oh, they also made Ninja Spirit, which was also a really interesting sort of side-scroller game. Hey, American Prisoner. Hey, John. Hey, Modus Operandi. How's it going? Hi, Smiling Jack. Hey, Furious Psyop. Good to see you. An essential item. An essential item. Interesting. Okay. Like in the mail, John? It's coming to my mailbox. That's cool. I'm looking forward to it. Don't tell me what it is. Surprise me. As long as it's not anthrax or white powder in my mailbox, I'm okay with getting anything. But that is not something I'm not going to give out my address on here. Kung Fu Master, Tom. Yes, that's actually on the Pandora's box. I'm going to play that at some point. Although it looks a little older school. Like it looks like it's from the mid 80s. It's not it's not like a 16-bit looking game. Am I wrong about that, Tom? It almost kind of looks like an NES game or like a more upgraded, like whatever kind of graphics you consider that, like pre 16-bit era. I don't think I've ever played that. And in my mind I'm getting it mixed up with that original official NES game cartridge that was called Kung Fu something, or it's like a side scroller where just you keep repeating the same level over and over again. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Maybe you do, Tom. Cool, John. Oh, you already told me on Twitter. Oh, well. Okay. That's fine. No worries, dude. Oh, it spawned the NES game Kung Fu. Interesting. When you say it spawned it, is it one of those other examples of Nintendo and IREM somehow co-developing a title together? Is apparently R-Type, even though it's not credited on the arcade game, R-Type was somehow some of the people officially from the Nintendo development team worked on that game. That also makes me wonder if that's why IREM doesn't have any title, or maybe they do. Did IREM ever release any titles on the Sega Genesis? Or did they have some kind of like exclusive licensing deal or loyalty to Nintendo because of that history and never released any of their games? Because I could see a lot of these arcade games would actually fit really well as Sega Genesis titles. They all have really intense FM sound going in them. The style of them kind of reminds me of stuff more on the Genesis than the Super Nintendo. Hey, Adam G. How's it going, dude? John is sending Robbie Cipro. Or whatever the new vaccine is for COVID-19. Because all the elites, as you know, including me, I'm a secret elite. I have been given the secret vaccine. So that's how you'll know if this is a bioweapon, is like how many people from like certain neoconservative sectors are like, which one do the elites like survive? If too many of them survive or don't get it, we're gonna start asking questions. I'm not being completely serious about that, but I'm not completely joking either. Yeah, obnobs, I don't have a fucking beard. Isn't that weird? Shit's weird, right? That shit's really weird. Kung Flu. Have you guys gotten into the depths of the MAGA hat cesspools yet to hear people calling it the Kung Flu? That's when you get to the actual bottom of the barrel. Almost like when you penetrate the bottom of the barrel, like underneath the barrel to get to the part of the barrel that's been like soaked through and is like rotten and moldy from like not being able to contain the moisture in the barrel. You start hearing people call it the Kung Flu. And then all the way to the top of like the neocon think tank chain, people call it the CCP virus. Nice, Peter. Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you for name dropping me. And I'm glad you liked the podcast, Adam. And I'm assuming, Peter, maybe you heard it too. I don't know if that's what you're saying. Yes, it does strike me as strange, Terror Toddler. And guess who was at CPAC? Guess who had a whole wing of the convention center rented out just for them to do like a whole day's worth of events? The Committee on the Present Danger China. Frank Gaffney, all these people were there. Woolsey, all these motherfuckers were there, dude. I mean, I'm not going to make any accusations about it. The one person I will say is probably the sketchiest to me out of the Committee on the Present Danger China people is James Woolsey. Not just because he's a PNACer, but because he was involved in Operation Dark Winter. I mean, come on. That's why I called the... M. Carbo, you don't. You don't know that. Actually, you know what? I can't fuck around with that kind of rhetoric because I made an album called The Masonic Assassination of William Morgan when I was more into like Masonic conspiracy stuff. Even though that's not a conspiracy theory, that's actually like a conspiracy fact. They were Masons who actually assassinated a guy who tried to write a book and blow the whistle on the Masons. But when I put that album out, some guy on Facebook, he was actually like in the music scene who knows some other people that I know. He said something about the Masons, and then I made a joke about how I was a 33rd degree Freemason, master warlock or something, and I could, you know, I didn't say anything about putting a curse on anybody. But then for some reason, he responded to it as if I was serious. So I responded back to him, like continuing the joke. And then years later, literally years, 3 years after, I had this exchange with this random person on Facebook who commented on my album. I saw the same person posting on other people's timelines, spreading the innuendo about me that he was telling people that I had put a Masonic curse on him and that I was dangerous. And I don't know how many times he posted this on other people's walls and stuff, but he seemed to legitimately believe it. So the only reason I'm going off on this tangent is because you never know who the fuck's out there who's like believes every word you say and can't detect sarcasm. No worries, man. So I just watched Louis C.K.'s stand-up special, which was kind of interesting. I have to admit it was pretty funny. I'm not going to spoil anything in it for those who haven't seen it, but it was... I would say my main complaint about it was that he seemed rusty. SB interview yet? JNNX. So have you listened to the SB interview yet? What's your take? I don't know who that is. SB interview. Is it something you've sent me? Is that why you're not expanding the acronym? Is it a secret secret acronym. If it is, I guess don't expand it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it could be. Sidney Blumenthal. Who are you hinting at there? Oh, what if you listen to the podcast? I want to put my money where my mouth is right now. And I don't even know, this is not even really a brag. It's actually kind of embarrassing. But just so you know, wasn't bullshitting on the podcast. Here's a book that I've had for like the last 3 years. This is the book that I talked about in the podcast. See some of the names on here. But basically, I've been collecting these Frank Gaffney think tank books for the past several years. I mean, some of them are published online. This one's interesting because, you know, the Republicans and all those people right now they're still not like anti-Russia. They're not going against Russia. So this one is interesting because it's from 2016. It's like right before Trump gets in office, and it's this same fringe group of neocons. Fred Fleets, who's now on Trump's National Security Council, Frank Gaffney's book publishing company, his think tank, published this book called Putin's Reset. The Bear is Back and How America Must Respond. It's interesting to see this group of fringe neocons pushing this anti-Russian stuff. I don't even really know what to make of this book. But I can't move my camera right now because it's on my computer, but I have like 20 other neocon books in here. Oh, Steve Bannon interview. Are you talking about the Bannon interview on the Red Scare podcast? JNNX. And when you say really curious if you've noticed how all the stars have been lining up, do you mean in the sense that it seems like a lot of people have been, by design, maybe influenced to stand down around a push for anti-Chinese propaganda, including around the orbit of Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon? Is that what you mean by the stars lining up? If that is, I have noticed that. And I didn't understand necessarily what it was for until COVID-19, until all this anti-China stuff really started to ramp up. And then I was like, holy shit, this is possibly what this has been for the entire time. This is possibly why Tucker, has been trying to groom people like Greenwald and Michael Tracy into basically needing his show, because they have huge following. I mean, Michael Tracy's Twitter following now is huge. Don Jr. retweets him. He's like a pretty big figure now because of Tucker Carlson. And strategically, if you think about it, Tucker has kind of influenced a lot of the popular Russiagate debunkers to be sort of loyal to him and his orbit, and to defend him and to promote him and to rely on him to get promoted and get their stuff out there. That's really interesting, because the same people who would be, who were really good at debunking Russiagate should also be immediately noticing all this anti-China propaganda and should be like, oh my God, now we need to try to debunk this because this is going to go in a dangerous direction. I don't know, Tom Collector. That's a good question. I think what was interesting to me is hearing Steve Bannon, learning more about his desire to do regime change in China. I really had no idea how serious he was about that. And actually, in terms of true believing, still don't know how legitimately serious he is about believing in the Chinese people and wanting them to rise up against their government. I think he understands how politically powerful of a movement it could be to shift the political climate, maybe globally, domestically, to piggyback on something like China, anti-Chinese sentiment. I feel the same way about neocons for the most part. I feel like they have ulterior motives. Maybe, maybe Robert Kagan really authentically could come off like a true believer. But honestly, the more time that passes for me, I'm not so sure of that anymore. I just feel like maybe on some level it's just a really clever framework in order to make other people true believers. Because there's a lot of like acolytes of these people. You go lower down the chain, and a lot of those people actually do buy into it. They're not as brilliant as Robert Kagan. So yeah, and I hope on some level, I mean, I notice other people are starting to pick up the thread. Samir Khan, Iron Goodrum, I think he writes for China Daily. So there's other people starting to pick up the thread that it's actually really dangerous that some of these influential figures from the left or progressive movement who go on Tucker's show are not talking about his anti-Chinese propaganda right now. Because, like I said on the podcast, part 2 of this podcast I put out, it's no longer like Tucker just in a sea of right-wingers putting out white nationalist dog whistling kind of stuff. It's no longer just that. It's Tucker is actually taking the lead on the anti-China propaganda. He has a very, very big audience, and he's very, very influential. His rhetoric kind of crosses over, and people still promote his stuff, like in the anti-war scene. I really like and respect someone like Colleen Rowley, but I saw her promote like a Tucker, video clip like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm just thinking, it's really time that people start calling him out. I mean, it's one thing to be promoting him when he wasn't ramping up the anti-China propaganda. That's bad enough. But to be doing it now and also not saying anything, I think is actually really harmful. And we need to realize that somehow, some way, this could have been the plan the whole time. To just pretend to be anti-neocon, to suck all these people in, and then flip the switch when they have the opportunity came. I mean, this could be a really big play, a really big power play, to try to pin this on China and to try to make China pay for this. I mean, it could be a really big power play. Ouch. Carl, that's really disappointing. Yeah. I don't care for that show. I think it's also very suspicious that a Hudson Institute neocon named Sagar Enjeti, I think that's his name, is using his co-host, who I think is probably, a good person, as a vehicle to suck, again, people who are anti-war into getting indoctrinated with neocon propaganda on his show. He brought on FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracy neocons, onto the Rising TV show right after Soleimani got assassinated. So there's something going on here. I think this is actually very strategic, and I think when you really look back on all this, you can sort of see it as, wow, the siphoning of all this anti-war energy into right populism or quasi-right populism could have been done for a very strategic purpose. Okay, Persona Management just said, I was not aware about how serious the Epoch Times propaganda was until you pointed it out. Thanks a bunch. Apparently it's pronounced Epoch or Epac or Epic. I'm not really sure. And frankly, I don't really give a shit. I mean, I probably should pronounce it correctly. But here's an experiment I think that you guys might want to do. And I'm going to do this actually after I stop this broadcast tonight, because this might be an ongoing series on Media Roots Radio. If you go on YouTube right now and you start clicking on the Epic Times, the Epoch Times videos, you watch enough of them, all you have to do really is search in YouTube for the names of people on the Committee for the Present Danger China. What you'll find in the search results is dozens and dozens of Epoch Times results where these people appear. You'll find channels called China Uncensored. You'll find a lot of other channels too that have sometimes 1 million subscribers, hundreds of thousands of views on all their videos, that are all pushing the same anti-China line. And what I think would be an interesting experiment is to create a fresh YouTube account, to log in completely blank, no algorithms, no footprint already there on YouTube, and then just to start watching videos of these people from the Committee on the Present Danger appearing on networks like the Epoch Times. What you'll see eventually is all your recommendations will start getting populated with extremely suspicious, extremely well-funded looking, well-produced news segments that are all pushing a very hard right neoconservative line against China right now, and are all featuring the same people from this think tank that I went into. I've really never seen anything like it. You know, when I looked at think tank videos before, or when I was studying, you know, the neocons for a very heavy agenda, most of their stuff didn't have really any viral nature to it online. You know, it would be like in papers like the Washington Post or Wall Street Journal, or they'd go on CNN, or they'd go on maybe Newsmax sometimes. You know, some of those channels would have them on. But you wouldn't really see like any of their videos getting hundreds of thousands of views. And in fact, some of the Robert Kagan videos that I edited probably had less than 1,000 views on YouTube. But you'll go to the Committee on the Present Danger China videos, and it's crazy how many views some of them have. And maybe it's because Steve Bannon is involved in it. Maybe that's why. Maybe his sort of viral pull, the energy that he generates online, gets people. That may be the easiest explanation for just their think tank videos getting so many views. But I mean, sometimes 100,000 views on some of those videos, and that's kind of unprecedented for any think tank in DC. I mean, even if you compare it to like Brookings Council on Foreign Relations, it's off the charts. Crix26. No, I can't. I've showed off part of it. I can't show off the whole thing because my webcam is stationary right now. Persona management. Yeah, it's this whole thing has made me really curious about this now too. That there's a whole network of Epoch Times style anti-Chinese TV channels on YouTube that are pushing out content constantly. And here's another weird thing I'll throw at you. You remember Stephen Hatfill from the 2001 anthrax attacks? The guy who ended up winning a $6 million lawsuit settlement against the U.S. government for being called a person of interest in the investigation by John Ashcroft. Do you remember that guy, Stephen Hatfill? Well, here's the weirdest fucking thing in the world. Stephen Hatfill is heavily involved in pushing anti-Chinese propaganda in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic on all of these, specifically these fake, weird, cutout organization anti-China channels on YouTube. He appears on War Room Pandemic, Steve Bannon's podcast. He appears on the Epoch Times. He appears on, hold on. God, there's more of these channels, and I wish I had a list of them in front of me now. Hold on, let me look and see if I can find them. Ah, shit, you know what? I don't know how to do it because it's on my other Google account. Anyways, I'll have to list out all the names of these suspicious channels. Once I do the experiment myself on my end, I'll have a list for you guys of all the channels if you want to try the same experiment yourself to see the YouTube algorithm populate your YouTube account recommendations with all this weird, coordinated, well-funded anti-Chinese propaganda. that's specifically made for American Western audiences. Go to China Uncensored right now on YouTube, and you'll see that it is a channel that appears to be an independent channel with like Patreon, like a Patreon page. It has over 1 million subscribers, and it's done in the style of like John Oliver desk sketch comedy shit. It's fascinating. Hey Bird, how's it going? Dr. Gulag says they are not doing this for some nefarious plan. They actually believe we are at war. Well, I mean, I think it's both. I think that they believe we are at war, but they're also cynically pushing things and trying to spike that belief with propaganda. I think Tucker Carlson actually knows exactly what he's doing, and I mean, my belief is that he's actually doing this on purpose, and he was sort of waiting to flip the switch to basically push really hard on China using propaganda from Steve Bannon and the Committee on the Present Danger of China. I mean, he has several people from their think tank on his program to talk about China. Gordon Chang is one. Bird Worldless, I hate China Uncensored. Well, Bird Worldless, I'm mentioning it because I think it's some kind of cutout organization. I think it's fake. It's not just, you're saying, so Bird Worldless says right-wing neocon crap that pretends to be neutral. Bird Worldless, I think it's worse than that. I think it's a cutout organization of some kind. I think it's somehow fake. That it's not even just like a right-wing group, that it's actually some kind of cutout organization, possibly even U.S. government funded. And I would also argue Epoch Times appears to be somehow U.S. or State Department funded or managed or collaborated with in some way as well. Hey, Trish. I did see you earlier. Oh, yeah, I just got the notification. New Empire Files is up. That's exciting. Fresh off the presses. Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of stuff in the new Empire Files episode about what I'm talking about, too. I have a feeling there might be. Terror Toddler, yeah. We need to make a list, basically, in the same way that Alliance for Securing Democracy makes a list and tracks all these things. I feel like with this, it would be really useful to just track all those media networks and see what talking points they're putting out, which talking points are pushing the hardest. I mean, it's a very obviously coordinated effort. And you know, CNN and MSNBC and the mainstream news networks haven't yet taken the bait fully on it. And that might be the point, is that these little networks comprise something that's just sort of bypassing that. In the same way that Trump bypassed, you know, the typical channels or means you would use to get elected to be president. Yeah, they are connected to the Falun Gong, Director Westfield, but the Falun Gong has been long supported by the CIA. So that definitely raises a lot of questions about what the relationship is between the Epoch Times now with the Falun Gong and U.S. government agencies. I mean, I can't stress enough. You know, maybe some of the things I say online, especially on Twitter, people could perceive to be hyperbolic, but I am not exaggerated in any way to say that somehow this think tank, the Committee on the Present Danger of China, has plugged into this vast network of what appear to be cutout organizations all pushing the same anti-Chinese talking points that get huge amounts of views online. So I don't know if they're using click farms, because even that doesn't seem organic, that these are getting that many views. Some of the videos are like really about really obscure subjects, and you're just like, what? No, I didn't see that Martin Armstrong blog post. No. Hey, how's Whistles? How's it going? Hey, Omar Rana. Yeah, I mean, so I just think in general, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here that I just feel that a lot more research needs to be done about this little network of media organizations that are on YouTube. And of course, none of them say, they're from any state media outlet of any kind. Um, oh, going back to the WHO thing, like, that was a Hong Kong journalist who asked that WHO official about Taiwan. And, you know, my impression of that was that it was an obvious political stunt of some kind. And to single out the WHO right now specifically in a vacuum and say that the WHO shows that China is basically in control of it, just like they're in control of the NBA and just like they're in control of Hollywood, is just a false narrative. Having a WHO official discuss identifying Taiwan on that kind of broadcast would be politically problematic. Taiwan is not internationally recognized. Well, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Yaku Cub says the idea that anyone could be anti-China is so removed from the reality of China's role in the global economy. Well, that's the interesting thing, is that some of these neocons are actually directly going after sectors of Wall Street for being in collusion with China, which is fascinating to me because that could be almost seen as some kind of leftist populist argument, but specifically being used only to go after China, like a foreign government that is trying to, buy out parts of the United States. Yaku Cub, who did you hear that from? That 30% of the WHO's funding comes from China. That doesn't sound accurate to me. But if you can back that up with something, quote something. I don't know if you're able to post links in here, but quote like a section from something you're getting that from, and tell me what source that is. Dr. Gulag, I haven't been keeping up with that actually. But Dr. Gulag, one of the funniest things about Alex Jones recently is, did you see that he threatened to out QAnon? Did you see that shit? Adam Green of No More News, no spelled with a KN, like W, I mean like KNOW, No More News, made an excellent video compilation of Alex Jones that's about 20 minutes long. That's incredible. Everybody here should watch it. Where Alex Jones admits probably something like 10 times that he somehow knows who Q is, that he's in communication with Q regularly, that Q actually recruited Trump and told Alex Jones about it before Trump even became president, that it was all a plan. And there's all this shit where Alex Jones is talking about how he's has all these inside sources in the Mossad and the CIA and stuff. And why was I start? Oh, so now, and then in the video, it shows Adam Green shows that Alex Jones eventually turns against Q at a certain point because Q, I guess, made a post calling Alex Jones a charlatan of some kind. So now, fast forward like a year after that, Alex Jones is now saying that he's going to out. He's giving Q, and for some reason giving Joe Rogan a, let's see, a now 72 hour, 72, let's see, 72, 96 hour deadline from now. If you actually go and watch this is a real Alex Jones appearance. Not appearance, it's on his show, where he threatens Q and the people involved in Q that he is going to out them and dox them unless Joe Rogan decides to do it first or unless they come out and identify themselves first. And, you know, what's weird is I almost feel like Alex Jones is some kind of controlled opposition asset. And I do feel like Q is actually, on some level, some kind of disinfo op being run out of some department under Trump. I'm almost inclined to believe Alex Jones in a weird way. Doesn't that sound crazy? That I'm willing to believe that Alex Jones could actually out people who are involved in Q. I'm saying that I believe that he could do it. I don't think that he will do it though. I don't think Alex Jones will. I think Alex Jones probably does have some kind of line into these deep state forces. Dr. Gulag, I didn't see that narrative that Alex Jones is putting out. That's pretty sad. That's pretty pathetic. I mean, it is interesting, though, to see the way Trump, again, deflected this. Like, now he's just back on top, and people are just blaming everybody else for the mishandling of this. So, like, it's just back to normal. Trump's great again. He did everything right. It was the Democrats. It was China. It was the WHO. It was everybody else who fucked up except for Trump and his people. I mean, that's basically, in a weird way, that's like what the right is just fully pushing, double barrel, 24/7 now. You know, like children. It's just very reptile brain level shit. But it works. I mean, it's odd that it actually works. Now we almost forget that Trump, you know, possibly, you know, will be responsible for the death of millions of people if this actually gets as bad as they're still predicting it'll get. So, I don't know. I mean, even watching the video Adam G put together, I don't think it's 100% Alex Jones lying in it, saying that he talks to Q and then he knows who Q is. I think that on some level, there might be some truth to that. And I actually think that's pretty scary. That's more scary. That there's some kind of insider intelligence group of people or people inside the Trump administration who are feeding Alex Jones information or trying to steer him in a certain direction. I mean, that's really surreal if that's the case. But I mean, it's just disturbing on it in and of itself if it's real. You know, just the Q postings are disturbing in and of themselves. So should we check out this game Gunforce now? I've already been going for 40 minutes, so I think so. I really like the FM sound on this shit. Adam G, I agree. Everything is sus. Big time. Big time. All right. Gunforce. Oh shit! Oh no, I'm already out of auto. Fuck! Here, I'll turn it down. Sorry. Is that better? Well, it's very Contra-like boss. Feel, look at that. That's such a rip-off of Contra. Sound one of those suicide boss runs. What does it mean? Okay, does anybody out there play like first-person shooter games a lot? First-person shooter video games. I've been watching, for some reason I've been on this kick of watching John Romero interviews and videos. One of the main guys involved in Doom and Wolfenstein, the id Software. And he uses the term a lot that he doesn't like how a lot of new video games and new shooters, your character is a bullet sponge. And I don't really understand what he means by that, and I'm wondering if you guys understand that term. Because I understand what he means by he doesn't like how things are slotted in a lot of modern video games, how like there's all these scripted events where the enemies seem like scripted the way they come at you. And it's not like random. You know, because one complaint I even have of games like Red Dead Redemption is I felt like it wasn't random enough. Like, I feel like a game like Red Dead Redemption, if it had more randomness to it, where like if you just approach certain people that'll start attacking you no matter what, or there's a lot more of that going on in the game. I mean, that is one of the good things about Doom, that I guess not a lot of modern video games actually duplicated. But I don't know what he means by the bullet sponge thing. And he keeps saying it in a lot of like interviews that I read. Oh, obnobs. Interesting. Okay, so that makes sense. So like those games where there's a lot of stuff happening and it doesn't require as much skill, I guess, is kind of what he means. Like where it's very chaotic, like I guess Half-Life 2 or like Halo can have a lot of stuff and projectiles and things flying around the screen, but you can take a lot of damage and it doesn't require as much skill. But one interesting thing actually that came up for me when I was doing all this, I don't know why I was researching all this stuff on Doom, is that people don't understand how genius the engine was for Doom. They've designed it so that it ran extremely fast over like modems at the time to do deathmatch, which had never been done in a game before on a brand new 3D engine that they invented. I've heard from a lot of people that Doom Eternal, the new Doom game, which when you watch videos of the solo player, Doom Eternal, the newest one that just came out, It looks gorgeous. It looks like it's totally skill based, like just like the old Doom in a lot of ways, except for those gore nest scripted events, which I still think are in the newer Doom games, from what I've seen. Aside from that, they do seem like they play a lot like the old Doom. There's just tons of stuff coming at you where you have to dodge stuff. My point is that I've heard from a lot of people online, and I've been reading stuff, that the new Doom Eternal Deathmatch mode, or the co-op mode, has a lot of lag to it on even really fast internet connections, and it's not really that playable, which it's just really a sad commentary to me on new games in general, that I think this is why most or a lot of modern video games suffer, is because they're all trying to work around the idea of having a smooth multiplayer experience that doesn't feel glitchy, that's very, very smooth. And I don't think, with the amount of processing going on, I mean, this is just my theory, and maybe I'm totally wrong about this, that with a lot of these modern games, with the amount of shit going on screen, the code written for it, or even like the speed of light itself, is maybe not even, it's not even possible to have like a game that plays as crazily as like a Doom deathmatch game would, using that engine. Well, yeah, the other thing John Romero said that I think the thing that resonated with me the most is he said that what he thinks is lacking from most first-person shooters now is there's no abstract level design. And that's absolutely right. I mean, when is the last time you played a game that didn't look like it was trying to be like a real space or environment of some kind, that had really realistic environments, and lighting, and even Doom Eternal, or the previous game before that, Doom 2016, it looks like you're in like some kind of sophisticated spaceship with these big open things the whole time, and you do kind of miss that really abstract, almost cartoonish, nonsensical level design that was in Doom 2, especially. Hey Patrick, how's it going? So what do you guys think about that? Do you remember like how abstract the level design was in games like Doom 2? And even the later episodes of Doom? I do feel like that's missing from a lot of these 3D exploration games. Or any 3D game, first person game. Adam G, are you playing Super Metroid during the quarantine? I could see how that would go well with what's happening. The music in Super Metroid is gorgeous. That's some of the best Super Nintendo music ever. Excellent. Smiling Jack. Yeah, I mean, I like the real space aspect of newer games too. I don't mind. I mean, Red Dead Redemption, for example, I wouldn't want different kind of level design in that. I think that's perfect in terms of the world and the level exploration. But I want more games that are in the style of like what Doom 2 was doing, where there's just, it's like levels like tricks and traps from Doom 2, where it's just like a crazy weird puzzle with thousands of enemies that you just have to blast through. We're almost dead the whole time. You have to conserve ammo. I mean, that type of intensity of gameplay and that style of gameplay, I just don't. It's weird to me that hasn't been. Nobody's really recreated that in that same way since. It doesn't even have to be done with amazing graphics. I mean, you can even just make like a new game using the Doom engine that's like this. You never played Doom? Holy shit, dude. Play the original Doom. Oh man, the original Doom is fantastic. I mean, I played it right when it came out, and the only 3D game I had played before that was Wolfenstein. So it was like a groundbreaking, earth-shattering event for me. Um, Although I remember I aesthetically didn't care for it. I remember, even though I was blown away by like the impressiveness of the engine, um, the aesthetics of Doom I didn't care for it. And I actually didn't really love the aesthetics in Doom until episodes 2 and 3. Um, I think the first one is it called Knee Deep in the Dead, episode 1 of Doom. I think it wasn't until episode 2 and 3 where you start fighting like the Caco demons and you're in parts of hell, and you get the plasma gun, you get the BFG. It turns into a more like sci-fi adventure game kind of a thing. The first episode of Doom feels to me more like militarized or something. It's got more of like a military vibe. The aesthetics do. Yeah, I should do that, Modus. I use Discord. I just never started a channel. So if I do start one, you and Furious Psyop should be mods or something of it. And can you do a mod? What's MGS? Break down these acronyms. Metal Gear Solid. Fucking I honestly haven't even played Metal Gear Solid, so I can't really rag on it too much, but I don't care for those kinds of games. Where it's like taking cover and that kind of thing. I think I just really crave like Doom style experiences. But there's probably some other 3D games that I would like. I just haven't played that many of them, to be honest. Like the Spider-Man game, the newest one for like PS4. That game looked really cool. Like the gameplay in it looked like it's probably pretty fun. Apparently, there's a new entire episode of Doom level design done by John Romero for Doom 2, I believe, not Doom 1, that he did in 2018. So I plan to play through. Maybe I can do some of that actually on MAME Politics. I'm going to try to play through his entire episode. And Doom is really fucking hard, especially when you do it on ultra violence mode. I would never play on the higher mode than that. I forgot was it nightmare mode? I forgot the ranking of which ones are the hardest, but the one where the enemies respawn, no, I would never play on that mode. But the one right underneath that, I think that is probably the most fun way to play Doom. And yeah, it'll probably take me like weeks of game saves and giving up and returning to that to actually beat something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, Viet Doom. I don't know if I've talked about this on here. Somebody did a very interesting basically a new Doom conversion called Viet Doom, where they edited the script in the Doom code to make it so that you can use unlimited size sprites in the game. So there's these gigantic explosions, these trees that go up really high. Really interesting use of the Doom engine that I've really never seen anything like before. And it's out right now. You can download it. It's called Viet Doom. And what else? Brutal Doom. I think it's made actually by the guy who made Brutal Doom, which is a really good mod of Doom, where you can like jib people in multiple different ways using multiple different attacks. Like you can pick up a guy and throw him up against the wall, and then as he's bouncing off the wall, shoot him, and then like his body gets cut in half and stuff. So it has all these almost like weird fatality moves, almost in the same way that the new Doom games like Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 have the glory kills. Brutal Doom has little things in it like that where you can like kill the characters in just like crazy ways. Oh, Tom Collector, that's awesome that you met John Carmack. I can imagine, yeah, he'd be. I mean, I saw his entire interview on the Joe Rogan podcast. Adam G, how's it to be at a hospital right now? We haven't really heard from you about that in a while. Man, yeah, that's got to be hard. Oh, Director Westfield. Hell yeah, I've played Star Wars Dark Forces. It's probably the only Doom era FPS game that I've never played. Oh, dude, okay. First of all, I'm not saying it's a good game. I remember it being really hard, and I didn't really like it too much when I was a kid when I played it. But looking back on it, it was the first game that I ever played that was 3D that let you duck, jump, and where you could fall off of a ledge and die if you fell down too far. And then also if you fell down not too far but sort of far, you just got hurt. So those three things alone in it, I was like really actually impressed by that. It seemed like a really advanced game for the time. And I don't know if it was using the Doom engine. If it was, they had modified it in an interesting enough way to make it feel like it was something new. So that's all I remember about it. Like, I remember there were actual parts in the game where you couldn't get past certain things without jumping on like platforms, without ducking. And for coming out so soon after Doom, that was like pretty advanced because that was before, you know, the actual era of 3D gaming. I'm going to try to play a little bit more of this. Oh, I get the flamethrower back. That's so cool that you actually get the but I get the weapon back. I love that. That's nice. It almost, if they have unlimited credits, it almost makes sure that I just die. Fuck it. Oh, I can hit the boards out of that. Kind of. Trying to be like Contra, but without having spread. Without spread, it's just not as good as Contra, no matter what. And maybe they thought that would have been too much of a ripoff to have spread, but I think you need it. I mean, everything else about this game is such a ripoff of Contra. Why not have spread? Why not go all the way with it? Jesus Christ. Oh, I thought I killed that guy. It's weird that you can just like walk through the bad guys. I don't know if it's the hit detection. It just feels strange. Oh, you have to shoot that guy more than once. That's why I thought I killed him before. I thought he was like a one-hit guy. Dead. Thought it was a one-hit and he's dead kind of a guy. You know what I mean? Fuck it. Fuck it. Jesus Christ. Boss is easier than a lot of the others. It's gotta have probably a second floor. It gets way harder. Weird, what is it? Huh. That was way easier. Oh, that's cool. About being in the tank. Do I get to be in a motorcycle also? So I guess all these vehicles I can be in. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I mean, what I like about it is I'm invincible. Since I pretty much suck at most games. Ha! Oh! Wait. Oh. What did you there? It seemed like I was standing close enough to this. That boss is way easier too than one of the previous bosses. It's like the bosses get less easy or more easy. Strange. I don't get it. The way you turn around and shoot is not good. Like if I just turn left on the joystick, I don't care for that. If I turn left on the joystick with so sometimes I can go back and forth, but other times I can't. And I don't know if it's something I'm doing. I haven't quite gotten the hang of that yet. What the hell? Okay. Dude. Seems kind of pointless. Just on there for 2 seconds. Oh shit. Whoa. Oh doesn't have the satisfying like death animation. You know how Contra, the enemies like fly back when you hit them at least? There's like a very pronounced animation or event when you kill a guy. Like they fly back, and this they just sort of like explode. It just doesn't really have the same. I don't know if I really have an interest in playing this game. Might almost be easier to play it on a D-pad. Watching today's episode of MAME Politics, episode 54. Really appreciate all you guys joining me again today. If you would like to subscribe to my Patreon page to get access to all the episodes of MAME Politics after they're in streaming, you can get access at patreon.com/Robbie Martin. So that game was Gunforce. It was all right for a Contra clone. I've played worse Contra clones. But thank you again, everybody. And it was a pleasure to say hi and to talk to you all. And let's do it again soon. Take care.